Okay, so today I would like to start with the inequalities. So a lot of students struggle with inequalities as well. So we need to learn how to solve the inequalities. It means get the range of values of x and how to plot them as well on the number line. So that's very important stuff. So let's take an example from your past exam paper. So I'll write down the question and I'll write down the exam paper as well. Okay, so it's 2008, question number 5, part A. They ask you to find the range of values of x that satisfy the inequality, which is x squared minus 3x minus 10 less or equal to 0. So what you call this is called quadratic inequality. It's because it's a quadratic expression there. Quadratic expression means the maximum power of x is 2. So the idea is, first of all, you have to make sure that the right hand side is 0. Okay, sometimes they will give you some number. So if there is a number there, you need to move to the left hand side. Okay, now how to solve quadratic inequality? So it is based on factorizing. It is based on factorizing the quadratic expression. So you already know how to factorize quadratic expression. I think we did some question last time as well. So x squared, let's factorize first. So x squared minus 3x minus 10. So generally we multiply this with the number here, which is the coefficient of x squared. At the moment it is 1. So factors of minus 10 would be 10 by 1, 5 by 2. So you need to choose a pair of factors. By adding or by subtracting will give you this middle term here, which is minus 3. So minus 3 I can get it by doing minus 5 plus 2, isn't it? So minus 5 plus 2 is minus 3, and minus 5 multiplied by 2 will give you minus 10. So it means the factors are correct. Now one way of doing this is you directly write down two brackets, and you got factors like minus 5 and minus plus 2, so you can directly write down as x minus 5, x plus 2, which you can obviously do it for this one. And if you have some complicated quadratic equation where you have some coefficient of x square, then sometimes it is tricky. So generally I recommend student to follow the traditional approach, which is valid for any type of quadratic equation. What is traditional approach? You use the factors to split the middle term like this, okay, and then use grouping method. What is grouping method? When you have 4 terms like this, you can make 2 groups and see what is common. Okay, so what is common from the first group, x? You will get x minus 5, and then what's common from the second group, plus 2, so you will get x minus 5 again. Okay, so now you have x minus 5 common, you will get x plus 2. So this is how we factorize a quadratic expression or equation. Now once you get the factors, you again write down as an inequality which is less than equal to 0. What you do after this? After this, you put this equal to 0, this equal to 0, just to get the value of x first. So you will get x equal to 5 from this, x equal to minus 2 from this factor, isn't it? Write down the smaller number here, bigger number here. Minus 2 is smaller, 5 is bigger. Write down x in the middle. And now what's this inequality here? Less than and equal to. So you put less than equal to sign here. So that's the solution of your inequality. Okay, so I repeat, when you have a quadratic inequality, you factorize. Once you get the value of x, write down this smaller number here. Always, doesn't matter what's the sign of the inequality. Smaller here, bigger here, and then copy this. Simple. Now what does it mean? This is just to write down the answer quickly, but what does it mean? It means that x is greater than minus 2. So if you want to plot on the number line, although they are not asking in the question, So, but if you want to, how will you plot this? So let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, isn't it? So that's your number line, and x is between -2 and 5. So -2 and 5 means it includes this part, isn't it? Between -2 and 5. Now, before you write down the solution on the number line, they will give you in the question whether x belongs to real number, x belongs to natural number, x belongs to an integer. And this will based on this condition, it will depend whether your solution, how the solution will look like. Okay, so for example, let's write down the solution again, and let's say I want to write down the solution on the number line using x belongs to real number. What are real numbers? Real numbers means any number between -infinity to +infinity. Okay, any number. It can be decimal, it can be fraction, or it can be whole number, doesn't matter. So -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, real number means any number, so it can be any number between -2 and 5. So you just draw a solid line between -2 and 5. If you want, you can put a solid dot on -2 and -5 as well, because you have equal to sign as well here. Less than, x is greater than equal to, and x is less than equal to. So 5 and -2 both are inclusive, both are part of the solution, and that is denoted by this solid dot. Okay, now let's take another example. Instead of this, if I give you x belongs to an integer, so what will happen to the solution? So I'll draw a number line again. Okay, I'll draw a number line again, and you can draw a line, solid line first between -2 and 5. However, now you need to make solid dots on each of the whole numbers. And the reason for that is x belongs to integer means you can only include integers as part of your solution. So any number, for example, between -2 and -1 or -1 and 0, they are not part of the solution because they are not integer. So this can be shown using a solid dot. Similarly, for the same solution, if I want to plot on the number line, but the condition is x belongs to the natural number, so what will happen then? In this case, let's say this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, -2, -3, and so on. So although you got solution between -2 and 5, but negative numbers are not natural number, isn't it? Natural number starts from 1, which we call as counting numbers. Last time we did number system. So counting numbers are called natural numbers. So you can only start from 1 to 5. And then you put solid dots on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there are only 5 values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is part of the solution. So you can see that it is very important to check this condition whenever they ask you to plot the solution on the number line. Okay, so this is how you can solve quadratic inequality and plot the solution. Okay, so let me see now another one. Yeah, so this is question number 1, 2012, part B. So find the set of all real values. So although they are not saying x belongs to real number, but they said in the statement that they're talking about real values. So you can assume that x belongs to real number. But what is the question? Question is 2x minus 5 over x minus 3 less or equal to 5 over 2. This is what you need to solve it. So can anybody answer what would be the first step what would be the first step? What should I do now to start solving this question? Bring them onto the same side. Bring the 5 over 2 to the other side of the thing. Okay, so this is what you need to understand here. First of all, generally in case of equality, if I don't have inequality, let's say I have simply this has this expression 2x minus 5 over x minus 3 equal to 5 over 2. So the idea is I have one fraction on one side, left hand side, and I have another fraction on the other side. So we do cross multiplication, which means you can do 2 multiplied by the numerator of the left hand side and x minus 3 multiplied by numerator of the right hand side, isn't it? This is what I think you are suggesting. However, this is not equality, this is inequality. So what's the difference in the approach? I can multiply 2 to this side with no problems, but I cannot multiply x minus 3 straight away to this side. And the reason for that is we don't know what we don't know, whether x minus 3 is positive or negative, because we don't know the value of x, isn't it? At the moment we don't know what is the value of x. So x minus 3 can be positive number or it can be negative number. But why it matters? So in inequality, if I multiply, for example, x minus 1 greater than, let's say, minus 5, isn't it? Let's take a simple example. If I multiply both sides by minus 2, a negative number, so what will happen is I will need to flip the inequality if I'm multiplying by negative sign. Okay, why so? Because if I say, or let's take another example, simple example, 5 is greater than 4, isn't it? But if I multiply both sides by negative sign, what will happen? I cannot write down minus 5 greater than minus 4. I should say minus 5 less than minus 4. So in inequality, if I multiply by a negative number or a negative sign, the inequality will flip. Okay. So in this case, we don't know whether x minus 3 is positive or negative. So I cannot straight away multiply x minus 3 to 5. So what should I do now? So in this situation, you multiply both sides by x minus 3 whole square. Why whole square? Because square of any number is positive. X minus 3 whole square. Doesn't matter x minus 3 is positive or negative, but we know that x minus 3 whole square has to be positive. So I don't need to worry about changing the sign of the inequality. Okay. So be careful. And that's a very common mistake. You cannot straight away multiply x minus 3 to 5. But you need to multiply by x minus 3 whole square if you want to simplify this. Okay. Now, what will happen then? So obviously this is square, this is single term, so x minus 3 will cancel, and rest you can simplify. So you can move 2 to the other side because you know that 2 is 2. 2 means positive number. So 2 bracket x minus 3 bracket 2x minus 5 less or equals to 5 times x minus 3 whole square. And now you need to simplify this. So how will you simplify this? So you need to multiply x minus 3 with 2x minus 5. So what you will get? X times 2x minus 5 minus 3 times 2x minus 5 less or equal to 5. Now what is x minus 3 whole square? There is a direct formula for a minus b whole square in algebra, which you should know. A square minus 2ab plus b square. If you don't know this formula, you can write down x minus 3 multiplied by x minus 3. Okay. you will get the same answer. Okay, so let us simplify this. 2 bracket 2x square minus 5x minus 6x plus 15 less or equal to x minus 3 multiplied by x minus 3 will give you x square minus 6x plus 9. Okay, let's multiply 2 inside the bracket. 4x square 10x 12x 30 5x square 30x 45, isn't it? And now you can do one more step here. 4x square minus 22x plus 30 5x square minus 30x plus 45. So let's move everything to the left hand side, okay, because it looks like a quadratic inequality now, as we discussed earlier in the previous question. So you have to make sure that one side is 0. So 4x square minus 22x plus 30, it will stay as it is, and this will change to minus 5x square plus 30x minus 45 less or equal to 0. Let's simplify. 4x square minus 5x square will give you minus x square. Minus 22x plus 30x will give you 8x. 30 minus 45 is minus 15, less or equal to 0, isn't it? So you need to solve the like terms. Now x minus x square plus 8x minus 15, again it's a quadratic. Now let's make it simple. So get rid of negative sign. So how will you get rid of negative sign from minus x square? You multiply both sides by negative sign. So this will change to x square, this will change to minus 8x, this will change to plus 15, but you need to flip the inequality because you multiplied by a negative sign. And now you know how to solve this, which we did earlier. What are the factors of 15? 5 and 3. 5 by 3 is 15, but we want minus 8 in the middle, so it should be minus 5 minus 3. Okay, so I'll write down the factors directly here. So x minus 3, x minus 5 are the factors. So you put it equal to 0, so you will get 3 and 5. Write down smaller number here, bigger number here, put x in the middle and copy the sign. So what is that? Greater than, greater than. So this is the answer for this question. Okay, so what is the most important part of this question? If you have x minus 3 in the denominator and you want to do cross multiplication, you cannot do that because you don't know what is the sign of x minus 3. Overall sign, I'm saying. We don't know whether it is a positive number or it is a negative number. So you need to multiply by the square of x minus 3 to both sides. Okay, and then simplify. Second thing which you learn here, that if you multiply equation inequality by a negative sign, you should flip the inequality sign, okay, which we did here. There is another possibility where you need to flip the sign. For example, if I get something like 1 over x greater than 1 over 5, let's say, okay, I want to find out the value of x, not 1 over x. So I would say flip both sides. Flip both sides, because in mathematics you can't just flip one side. Whatever you're doing on the one side, you have to do it on the other side. So if you flip both sides, you will get x here, you will get 5 here, but again you need to flip the inequality. Reason is same as I gave you earlier. If I write 5 greater than 4 and if I flip both of them, I cannot write 1 over 5 greater than 1 over 4. It should be less than 1 over 4, isn't it? So when you flip the number, the bigger number becomes a smaller number because you flipped it. Okay, so there are two possibilities where you need to flip the inequality: when you are multiplying by a negative sign and when you are flipping both sides. Okay, so I think this is all about inequality, and pretty much This is what they're asking in relation to the inequality question. Okay. Okay, so the next type of question is this one. Question 2, 2016. Mod of x minus 4 greater than equals to 2, x belongs to real number, and you need to find the range of values of x, which means you need to solve this inequality. Anybody has any idea how to do this question? Any idea? How will you solve this kind of inequality with a mod? Okay. So first of all, what do you mean by mod? Mod means absolute value. For example, if I say mod of minus 5, it's 5. Mod of 5 is 5 as well. Okay. So it doesn't matter whether you have a negative number or a positive number inside the mod, it will always give you a positive answer. Okay. That's one thing. So if I have mod of x minus 4 greater than or equal to 2, again, I cannot simply say, okay, let's ignore the mod x minus 4 greater than or equal to 2, x greater than or equal to 2 plus 4. That's wrong. Okay, because you cannot ignore the mod. Why? The logic is same what I gave you earlier, because we don't know whether x minus 4 is positive number or a negative number. So x minus 4 can be positive, it can be negative. So the best way to solve this is by squaring both sides. Squaring both sides, because even if it is a negative number or a positive number, square becomes positive. So x minus 4 whole square, and 2 square is obviously 4. Now, what is x minus 4 whole square? It means x minus 4 multiplied by x minus 4. So which will give you x square minus 8x plus 16 greater or equal to 4. And then you just solve this. So you need to bring 4 to the left hand side, so that right hand side will be 0. So x square minus 8x, 16 minus 4, 12 greater than equal to 0. Now after that, you know how to do this question. Only the first step was important. So whenever you are dealing with mod in inequality questions, you square it. Factors of 12, 6 multiplied by 2, 4 multiplied by 3, isn't it? But I want minus 8, which I can get it from minus 6 minus 2. So x minus 6, x minus 2 greater than equal to 0. And what you do then? You put both of them equal to 0. So you'll get 2, you'll get 6. And what's the sign here? Greater than equal to. So copy that. That's the answer for this question. Okay. So I hope inequality is now clear to you. These are all exam questions which we covered today. And now let us move on to questions like okay. This is question number 2009, question number 1, part B. 3 over 2x plus 1 plus 2 over 5 equals to 2 over 3x minus 1. They ask you to solve this equation. Okay. Now, last time we studied LCM and HCF stuff. Obviously, now you don't have any number here, isn't it? This is 2x plus 1. You don't have any number, so you cannot find out the LCM, isn't it? So what you do in this kind of case, so you have two fractions on the left hand side. First you change this into a single fraction. Okay, we don't want two fractions, we want as single fraction before you start solving with the other side. Okay, so what's the idea? Now you can do cross multiplication like this. 5 by 3, 2x plus 1 multiplied by 2, and 5 by 2x plus 1 will give you kind of your LCM, isn't it? So 5 times 2x plus 1 is your LCM, and 3 should be multiplied by 5, and 2 should be multiplied by 2x plus 1 equals to 2 over 3x minus 1. Let us simplify this. 3 multiplied by 5 is 15, plus 2 multiplied by 2x plus 1 will give you 4x plus 2. And this one will give you 10x plus 5, 2 over 3x minus 1. So 4x plus 17 over 10x plus 5 equals to 2 over 3x minus 1. Okay, so what was the objective? You have two fractions on the left hand side. First you simplify and convert into single fraction. Why? Because now I can simply do cross multiplication, which means this denominator will go into the numerator in multiplication, like you were suggesting in case of inequality. So now you can do it because it's not an inequality, so we don't care about the sign here. So on the left hand side you will get 4x plus 17 times 3x minus 1, and on the right hand side you will get 2 times 10x plus 5, and then simplify. So 4x multiplied by 3x minus 1, 17 multiplied by 3x minus 1. Okay, so how to multiply two brackets? We did last time. So 4x multiplied by second bracket, and then 17 multiplied by second bracket. Okay, equals to, here you can multiply inside the bracket. So 20x plus 2 by 5 is 10. So let's multiply this as well. So this will give you 12x squared minus 4x, 17 multiplied by 3x, 51x, isn't it? Minus 17, 20x plus 10. So you can see that it's heading towards a quadratic expression, but let's simplify. So let's keep left hand side as it is and move terms from right hand side to left hand side. So it will change to minus 20x minus 10 equals to 0. Okay, so let us simplify. There is only one x square term, but there are three x terms, this, and that. So 51x and minus 4 minus 20 is minus 24. So 51 minus 24 will give you 27x, isn't it? And minus 17 minus 10 will give you minus 27, isn't it? Okay, you cannot simplify this further because you have 12. So what you can use now is minus b formula, because the numbers are quite big. Okay, numbers are quite big, so you can directly use minus b formula to get the answer. So what's the minus b formula? It's given in your logbook. Minus b plus minus square root of b square minus 4ac over 2a. What is your a? Coefficient of x square, which is 12. Coefficient means the number beside the variable. B is 27 and C is minus 27. So you substitute these numbers in the formula, you will get two answers. Okay, so this is how you need to simplify equations like this. Okay, now I would like to do kind of word problem involving a lot of stuff basically. So this is question number 9, 2019 paper. 2019. Question number 9. Everybody has exam papers. If you do not have a printed copy, just use examination.ie, okay, and open 2019 paper. So in this question, there is a window. So I'm just kind of summarizing. There is a window, and they already give you the diagram. So window looks like this. Okay, and then a kind of semicircle. So this length they are saying y, and this length is x. Okay, so the top part is the semicircle. Now P is the perimeter of the window. P is called perimeter of the window. Now what do you mean by perimeter? Perimeter of any shape means sum of all the sides, let's say. Sum of all the sides. So what do you mean by sum of all the sides here? So sum of these sides means you need to add this, 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 and this semicircle length as well. This is the perimeter of this window. Okay. Now this is just a construction in the middle. So this is just for our convenience, the yellow part. Okay. But actually the window is like this. Now, question is write down perimeter P in terms of x, y, pi. So as I said, perimeters means sum of all the sides. So you can see that if this is y, this should be y as well. And if this is x, this should be x as well, because x is the distance from the center. Okay. And if this is x, then the radius of this semicircle would be x as well. So you can see that they're exactly the same. Okay. So P equals to y plus x plus x plus y. That's the rectangular part of the window. But now you have a semicircle. What do you mean by length of the circle? Length of the circle means the perimeter, the circumference of the circle, isn't it? If you consider a full circle, what is the circumference? 2 pi r, isn't it? You can call this perimeter of the circle, or you can also call this length of the circle. It's the same thing. Okay. So but we don't want full circle, we want half of it. So half of it means pi multiplied by radius. And what's the radius of this semicircle in our question? It's x. So we should use pi x. Okay. Let's simplify now. Y plus y 2y, x plus x 2x, plus pi x. Okay. So if you want, you can leave it like that. So this is the, they said find out perimeter in terms of x, y, and pi. So that's the answer for the first part. Second part of this question. They said if the perimeter of the window is 12, show that y is equals to 12 minus bracket 2 plus pi x over 2. So they said if the perimeter is 12, you need to prove that y is equals to this. So basically this is what you want as your answer. Okay. So we already got perimeter from our first part of this question. So you substitute the value of the perimeter like this. And what we can do is from these two terms, I can take x common. So you will get 2 plus pi in the bracket. Okay. And all you need to do is find out the value of y. So you need to do manipulation here. What do you mean by manipulation? You need to get the expression for y. So y is your subject. How to do it? So you keep y terms as it is, and you move non-y terms or non-subject terms to the other side. So basically I'm moving this term to the left hand side. So this sign here, which is plus, and it will change to minus. Okay, so what next? I got 2y, but I don't want 2y, I want y. So I need to divide everything by 2. So I will get y here, okay, and here I will get 12 minus x, 2 plus pi, everything divided by 2. And this is your answer, which is given in the question, isn't it? They ask you to prove this. So that's the answer for the second part. Now, part B of this question, they said complete the table on the right. So what's the table given? X 0, 12 over 2 plus pi, and y, which we already calculated, 12 minus 2 plus pi x over 2. So you need to complete the table, means they give you the value of x, which is 0, and this. So you use value of x one by one. So if you use 0, what you will get? You will get y equals to 12 minus 2 plus pi times 0 over 2. So this is gone because 0 multiplied by anything 0, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So just for your convenience, I am writing the solution as well. So what's the value of y here? 6, if x is 0. Similarly, if I use this value, so you have to write down properly. That's the value of y, but x is 12 over 2 plus pi, isn't it? Everything divided by 2. So I am substituting the value of x, which is 12 over 2 plus pi. So what will happen in this case? In this case, this 2 plus pi and 2 plus pi is gone, because one in the numerator, one is in the denominator. So you left with 12 minus 12, which is 0. So the answer here is y is equal to 0. Okay. So obviously you can do this separately. So the table, how will you complete the table? You can say x is 0, 12 over 2 plus pi. This is y. So you got 6 for this x equal to 0, and you got 0 for this answer. So that's the answer for part B. Okay. And next part of this question is, on the diagram below, draw the graph. All you need to do is draw the graph. And you already have the points. Where is your point? Your points are here. 0, 6, and the other point is this. Okay. So when you are substituting the value of x, you got value of y. So it means you got point with the x coordinate and y coordinate. So this is, let's say, 0.5. This is 1. This is 1.5. This is 2, and this is 2.5. And they already give you the scale there, so you don't need to worry about the scale. Okay. This is x. This is y. What is x here? X means radius. X was your radius, isn't it? Radius of the semicircle. So what's your first point? 0, 6. So where is 0, 6? So actually I need to draw here 6. So 0, 6 is here, because when x is 0, the point is on the y-axis. What's the other point? 12 over 2 plus pi, comma 0. Comma 0. Y coordinate is 0 means it should be on the x-axis. Now, before you plot the point, because we don't know what's the value of 2 over 2 plus pi. So you need to use calculator and find the value of 12 over 2 plus pi. So let's see what we have. So roughly around 2.33, isn't it? So you can say somewhere here, isn't it? and all you need to do is connect. That's it. Now, someone can argue why we are using a straight line, isn't it? It can be any other graph as well, like a curve or something like that. It should be a straight line, and the reason for that is, if you look at this expression here, okay, what type of expression is this, or what type of equation is this? It's a linear equation. Why? Because it has linear in x and linear in y. The power of x and y is 1. So the graph has to be a straight line. And how many points do you need to draw a line? Minimum? You need minimum 2 points to draw a line, isn't it? Why? If I have 2 points, I can draw only one line, isn't it? So that's why you need minimum 2 points. If I have just 1 point, I can draw infinite number of lines, isn't it? But in order to draw a specific line, you need minimum 2 points, which we have it. So that's why we just connect it through this straight line. So that's the graph of this function or equation. Okay, so the next part of this question. Find the slope of the graph. What's the formula for slope of the graph? Anybody knows the formula? Slope of the graph. How to get slope of the line? Yeah, so the basic, very good. So the basic formula is rise over run, isn't it? That's the basic formula, which you can obviously use here, because I know that the rise is, I know that this is the rise, okay, the vertical line up to the line, and I know that this is the run. Okay, so for this particular question, according to the graph, I know that what is rise, what is run. So I can directly use, what is the rise value? 6, because that point is 6, 0,6, isn't it? And run is 2.33. But I need to put a negative sign. Why? Because it's declining. So you find out using rise over run, but because it is declining slope, you need to put a negative sign. Okay, so that's it. So you can solve this. 6 divided by 2.33 will give you, so they said correct to 2 decimal places. Okay, so 2. Let's say 58 minus 2.58. So that's the slope of this graph. They want you to interpret as well. So all you need to do is say, how will you interpret? How will you interpret this graph? So the slope is minus 2.58. How will you interpret this graph? Anybody has any answer? What do you write in the interpretation? Well, that is true, but they want you to answer in terms of, you know, the question. So the idea is, what you're plotting on the x-axis, radius, isn't it? And what you're plotting on the y-axis, it's called height of rectangle. So this is on the x-axis, and on the y-axis you are plotting height of the rectangle. So if the slope is declining, what does it mean? It means if I increase the radius of the, let's say, semicircle, isn't it? Or you can say window. If we increase the radius of the window, what will happen? Height will decrease. That's the meaning of declining slope, isn't it? So as you increase the radius, what is happening? Height is decreasing. So can you visualize? Can you visualize if you increase the radius, what will happen? Let's say I increase the radius. So it will look like this. Your window will look like this, isn't it? You have increased the radius, but you have a smaller height now. Okay? So that's the idea behind the interpretation. So if they ask you to interpret, so they said interpret this slope in the context of the question. If you read the question, it is mentioned in the there. Okay. Now the next part is you need to write down the or find out the area. So again, they are asking you to find out the area of the window. Okay. So this is X, this is Y. Okay. And this is obviously semicircle again. Now this is something related to your area and volume chapter, which we will cover later. But I want to find out the area of the window. And area of the window means it's not a standard shape, isn't it? So you divide the standard non-standard shape into standard shapes. The top part is a semicircle, which I'm showing in yellow. And the bottom part is a rectangle, isn't it? So the bottom part is a rectangle. Okay. So non-standard shape. If they give you non-standard shape, you convert into standard shapes like this, so that you can find out the area of each shape and then just add them. So what is the area of rectangle? Length multiplied by width. So the rectangle part is length multiplied by width. What's the length? It's not x, it's 2x. Why? Because this is x, isn't it? So x plus x is 2x. So that's the length. And the width is, let's say, y. That's the area of the rectangle. Now, what's the area of the semicircle? Now, area of circle is pi r square, which is pi x square, but it's not a full circle, so you need to divide by 2. So the total area would be pi x square over 2 plus 2xy. Now they already give you the answer in the question, and if you look at the answer, there is no y term there, so you need to get rid of y, and you already know y. What is y? 12 minus 2 plus pi x over 2. Always use bracket whenever you substitute any value in mathematics in general, just to avoid any silly mistakes. So what will happen? This 2 will cancel, and what you left with? Pi x square over 2, and according to the question, okay, let's multiply x inside the bracket, so you will get 12x minus 2 plus pi x square. Okay. Well, actually, in order to get exactly the same answer, I would say do not cancel this then, because they want to keep 2 in the denominator. Okay. So I will not cancel this because so this will change to okay, leave it as 2x and 2 like this. Okay, so this will give you 24x and this will give you 2x squared. Okay, reason for that is now you have 2 in the denominator for both fractions, so you can take 2 as your LCM and just write down the top equations like this. Let's multiply 2x squared inside the bracket. You will get minus 4x squared minus 2 pi x squared. Okay, so what's the answer? 24x minus 4x squared. Pi x squared minus 2 pi x squared is minus pi x squared over 2. And the last step is you just take minus x squared common. You will get 4 plus pi. So that's the answer given in your question. So it's just because we wanted answer exactly what is given in the question. So you need to do this kind of rearrangement. Okay. So this is how you need to do these type of questions. Now they are asking you to find differentiation of this, so which we will cover later, and then find the relation between it. Yeah, so this part we need to cover later because we haven't covered this earlier. So that's the idea. Any questions? I think we already covered cubic equation last time, linear equation, that kind of stuff. So today we covered inequality and some questions related to area and stuff, all equations and all. Yeah, so I think we pretty much finished this. Anybody has any question? Okay, so the last I would say the type of question which is left here in algebra. Yeah, this one. So 2012 question number 1. 2012 question number 1. So they will give you two equations like this: a square minus ab plus b square equals to 3, a plus 2b plus 1 equals to 0. And they will ask you to solve this. Question is, how will you solve this equation? Anybody has any idea? How to solve these type of equations? Any idea? Simultaneous equations. No. No, that's the reason I ask you this question. So what's the difference between this question? Isolate one variable. Yes. Okay. So first of all, the second equation is linear, but the first equation is not linear. So basically one equation is non-linear equation. Non-linear means it can be quadratic or cubic, but generally they don't give you cubic, they will give you quadratic. and this is linear. So in these type of question, you cannot, solve like you solve two linear equation like the symmetry equations. Here you need to use which we call as substitution method. So you need to pick the linear equation and write down one variable in terms of other. So a equals to, let's say, minus 2b minus 1. It's your choice. It doesn't matter, but write down the variable, one variable in terms of other variable, whichever you think is easier. Okay, so I can say, okay, I don't want any fraction or something, so I'm simply saying a is minus 2b minus 1, and this you can only get it from the linear equation. Make sure you use the linear equation to write this, and then substitute back to the non-linear equation. Okay, so let us do that. Minus 2b minus 1 whole square, minus a again, so minus ab, so minus 2b minus 1 and b plus b square equals to 3. So what I did, I substituted the value of a in the first equation. So always use the bracket like this just to make sure. Now, how will you do square of minus 2b minus 1? Okay, so obviously you will say minus 2b minus 1 multiplied by minus 2b minus 1. You can do this way, otherwise you can use the formula as well. Now, from this one I can take minus sign common, and I will cancel with the sign outside the bracket, so it will become plus, just to make it simple. And now just multiply this. So if you multiply these two brackets, you will get 4b square plus 4b plus 1. Okay, and then this will give you 2b square plus b, and then plus b square. So I'm multiplying this inside the bracket as well, equals to 3. So 4b square plus 2b square plus b square will give you 7b square. 4b plus b is 5b plus 1, and then I'm moving 3 to this side, minus 3. So your answer is 7b square plus 5b minus 2 equal to 0. So what you will get is a quadratic equation at the end, okay, which obviously you know how to solve this. So I'll just quickly solve this. 2 by 7, so minus 14 here. Factors of 14 is obviously 7 and 2. And in the middle, I want plus 5, so 7 minus 2 is plus 5. So I'll use grouping method. So first you have to split the middle term, and then make groups 7b, b plus 1, and minus 2 common, b plus 1. So b plus 1 common, 7b minus 2. And then you put it equal to 0, each of them. So what you will get, b equals to minus 1, b equals to 2 over 7. Okay, b is equal to minus 1, b is equal to 2 over 7. And these two values you can substitute in your equation, which is a equal to minus 2b minus 1. So you know that a is minus 2b minus 1. So you substitute this value to get the value of a, and then you substitute 2 over 7 to get. So you'll get 2 answers for a and 2 answers for b. So this is how you need to solve these type of equation. But what is the physical significance of this? Just to give you an idea. When you solve two linear equations, let's say this one, and I'm just giving an example. So you know how to solve these two linear equations. So when you solve these two linear equations, how many values of x and y you get? You get one value of x, you will get one value of y, isn't it? What it represents? It represents the point of intersection of these two lines, because this is a linear equation. Linear equation means the graph should be a line, isn't it? And this is also linear equation, so you will get another line if you plot this graph, isn't it? And the x and y value which you are getting after solving these two equations, this is representing the point of intersection of these two lines. Okay, and that's why when two lines intersect, they intersect at one point. So you get only one value of x, one value of y, which represents the x coordinate and y coordinate of the point of intersection. But in the previous question, which we did, we got two answers. Why? Why we got two answers here, two values for b and two values of a? We got two answers because first, if you see the first equation, yeah, this one. So first equation represents a quadratic. And what's the graph of quadratic? It can be, so a square and b square and minus ab. It can be a circle or ellipse, or it can be a smiley graph or a sad graph, which we call as parabola, isn't it? And the second is a linear equation. So linear equation represents a line. So if I find the point of intersection, how many points will be there? There will be 2 points of intersection. Okay. So when one linear and one nonlinear graph intersect, they intersect at 2 points. And that is the reason you got two answers for B and two answers for A, which represents two separate points. Okay. So this is just the physical significance of solving equations. So whenever you solve two equations, doesn't matter two linear, one quadratic or two quadratics, doesn't matter. You are actually getting point of intersections of the graph. Okay. Okay. So I think that's the idea, and I would recommend you to practice all these questions. So because if you are good at algebra, then you'll be good at other topics as well. And if you struggle in algebra, you'll be struggling in other topics. So this is very important. So that pretty much covers algebra. But if you have any question or anything, you can ask me next time. Otherwise, I'll start with a new topic next time, and you can suggest some topic on the WhatsApp group if you are struggling with one particular topic. We can do that. Okay. So all the best. Have a good weekend. Okay. Thanks for attending.